The number of people doing business online has skyrocketed since the pandemic hit last year. So it has never been more important than now to make sure your business can be found online. Town Square can help you find more local customers with premium website services to help you grow your business faster when you visit mylocalcustomers.com. Don't wait. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to learn more about how Town Square can help you grow your business. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got 'em!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
The start of NFL Week 13 is tonight. And of course, you can hear the action right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Of course, don't forget, we are live also on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app as we are every night, thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. We'll break the whole bracket down, the whole weekend, all the NFL coverage for you coming up at 6:15. Andy McNamara joins us about 5 minutes earlier than usual here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Also, I'll get you the latest on the Eagles and more coming up here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I am Josh Hennig, as we are with you live in the Matt Black Kia Studios. Matt Black Kia wants to get you approved today. That's Matt Black Kia on the Black Horse Bike in Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblackkia.com. As typically like to do throughout the week, this time of the week, start getting more news and information about the Eagles. And when the Eagles injury report came out today, it definitely was it was informative. Let's use that verbiage, because I have been wondering all week, and I started wondering this on Monday because of Nick Sirianni being completely vague about what their approach was going to be with some of these players. Now we find out exactly what we can expect for tomorrow, because Miles Sanders was a full participant of practice and spoke to the media. So that's a double sign that he's pretty much going to play on Sunday. You don't let a guy speak to the media if he's not going to play. It's kind of how it works in the NFL. Now, Jalen Hurts was limited at practice. All right. So we do know he was still participating. Only 3 guys were DNPs. One of them was because of rest, Jason Kelce. So that's not exactly that concerning. And you have to think maybe part of the reason why Kelce got a DNP was to give Nate Herbig and recently signed practice squad center Luke Juriga more reps at center. That's at least what I think that's about. The 2 that are very important to keep an eye on as we get closer to Sunday: Jordan Howard, Boston Scott. Now, I understand that Howard missed last week's game. So the working theory would be, how much more time does he need off to get better? But realistically, he may need more than you think. I'm getting the feeling that Jordan Howard's not going to play on Sunday. They're going to hold him out until after the bye week, just to better be safe than sorry. No one's going to have these guys being rushed out there for the Jets game. Honestly, if the Eagles already told you on Monday that they're not evaluating Brandon Brooks' status until the bye week and afterward, I don't expect Jordan Howard to play. He hasn't practiced for 2 straight days. He's still listed with a knee issue. So I'm going to assume that Howard, he's out. Scott, keep an eye on him as well. He's still what they're labeling as an illness. It's non-COVID related. So, I mean, that could be anything. He could have a cold. He could have the flu. He could have a stomach bug. He could have an upper respiratory infection. He could have pink eye. Who knows what it is? Because of the world we live in now, with COVID and all these protocols and all this stuff, we know less than we used to about players ahead of games, which is ironic because for years we were getting the probable, the questionable, and the doubtful designations. Then a few years before sports betting becomes national, you get away from the probable, the questionable, and the doubtful, and you get more and more vague injury updates and reports. And we all know the reason why those updates and reports were there in the first place. They weren't there except for the fact that they give people information. And now we actually, in some ways, have less information. So, hope the best for Boston Scott, because for me, when I look at this game against the Jets, you need as many bodies out there as possible. Not because you can't beat the Jets, but because I don't want to hear any more excuses. You know, going into tonight's game, there's a lot of excuses about the Cowboys. No Mike McCarthy, Amari Cooper's first game back, all these things, this minutia out there. And I'm just tired of hearing it, right? I'm tired of hearing how everybody's got an issue or a problem or an excuse. And at some point, I just want these guys to go out there and play. And for the Eagles, I know they're a team that didn't make excuses. They took responsibility. A lot of the guys own their mistakes on Sunday's loss. But you're going from one pretty much below average team, if I'm being nice with the Giants, to a team in the Jets that is one of the worst in the NFL. I don't want any excuses. I want you to go out there, beat them by 2 touchdowns or more, and go home. I want this game to be over by the third quarter or even halftime. I want it to be that a lot of you guys out there are not jumping on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook or wherever and complaining about the Eagles only winning by a field goal at halftime. Because this team needs to show you and me that they're serious. Look at this Cowboys game tonight. The Cowboys are going to have their full complement of offense for the first time the entire year. That's right. This is the first game this year that Gallup, Cooper, Lamb, Elliott, Pollard, Dak, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin are all playing together. So if you have one game this year where they're all playing together, you have no excuse not to win. I don't care who's playing and not playing on defense. I don't care who the other team is. You got to win. You almost beat the Bucs in week 1. The Dallas Cowboys have been one of the prohibitive betting favorites for the longest time now. While teams like the Cardinals won games with Colt McCoy and the Bears won games with Andy Dalton, you have Dak Prescott. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You have no excuse not to win tonight. You need to go out there and get business done. Period. I don't want to hear any excuses, but the problem is that I don't trust the Cowboys. No Mike McCarthy tonight means Dan Quinn is going to be the man in charge. Danny Quinn got his butt kicked every year when he was the head coach of the Falcons by who? Sean Payton and the Saints. This game is really starting to look like a game that is going to be way closer than it should be. Cowboys probably still win, but keep an eye on this game tonight because I got the feeling that this game is going to be way more interesting than people expect. By the way, DeMarcus Lawrence has been activated off the injury reserve. So he is back in the lineup tonight for the first time since week 1. So this is arguably the healthiest the Cowboys have been. The question is, do you trust Dallas's talent more than you trust their coaching staff? We'll get more into NFL Week 13 coming up on the other side with Andy McNamara from Sportsnet right here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, GameNight being brought to you by my friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Casino in Atlantic City. Bet all the action style all holiday season football, basketball, UFC, and more at the state-of-the-art FanDuel Sportsbook just off the boardwalk at Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Fantasy football starts and sits. NFL Week 13 conversation next with Andy McNamara every Thursday right here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and of course we are live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Tobias Harris back in. Euro step, left hand left. Harris has got it all fucking here in this one. Tobias Harris.
The Sixers travel to the Atlanta Hawks. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
For over 110 years, Calvi Electric has been a trusted name in South Jersey for premier electrical commercial work. Now, through their newly developed residential division, they're available for all of your electrical needs, including installing power and lighting, new security systems and upgrades, generators, car charging stations, and solar panel systems for your home and business. Calvi Electric's sign department, as always, is available for your business too. To find out how they can help your home or business, visit calvielectric.com or call 609-345-0151.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN. NFL Week 13 starts tonight, and of course, it is the Dallas Cowboys and the Saints tonight. To get more into that game, as well as the full slate of NFL Week 13, NFL news, fantasy football, all that and more, we get into it every Thursday night right here with Andy McNamara from Sportsnet right here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, his appearance is always brought to you by Jim Malamut at Green Tree Mortgage, your best play to refinance today. Our conversation with Andy McNamara right here on 97.3 ESPN. And I believe we have Andy here. Andy, you got me over there? All right. I think Andy might have froze. So we're going to we have to reconnect with Andy here. It looks like he had a bit of a connection issue. So I will let him know that it looks like his side got frozen up. So as soon as we reconnect with Andy, we will bring him up here. We just had him on in the background. I saw him in the way it works for those of you out there, just to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. I can see the other person in the StreamYard before they see me, basically. So it's kind of like there's like a virtual green room. I can see the guest when they're on the stream, or for example, when they're on the phone, I can see if they're connected on the phone or not to my right. So, typically the way it works is that, when the guest is there, I can see them. And sometimes if there's an issue, you can see the issue happening kind of like in real time. So it's one of those issues where, you try to kind of like recalibrate, say, all right, we'll try again. So hopefully we can get Andy on here momentarily here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. So hopefully we can get Andy on here momentarily. Give me 1 second here, folks. Live radio here. We're trying to connect with Andy here. So hopefully we can get him back on here on 97.3 ESPN. I think we got him now. We'll see if we're recalibrated here. So we'll try again. I think we got him. Little see here. Andy, you got me over there? I think we got him here. Andy, you got me?
I got you, brother. I got you. How are you?
The beauty of technology, live radio, trying to troubleshoot something while I'm live on the radio with you.
I know. It's the worst. First time in how long we've been doing this? 2.5, 3, however many years?
I know. We've been doing this 2.5 years. And on December 2nd, 2021, the internet's I don't know if I want to cooperate today.
No. Dastardly. You know what? It's the Taysom Hill of technology today, ruining everything.
So, let's talk about that game tonight, because I mentioned before you came on, this is the Cowboys team. They're supposed to win, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's back. Amari's back. It's the first time they're all going to play together this year. Dexter Lawrence is back. But yet there's still a part of me that says, I don't trust Dallas, Andy.
Listen, I don't blame you either, because it seems whenever the Cowboys are looking like a sure thing, looking like, yep, cruising, something happens. And there's a lot of COVID stuff going on too. Not that, maybe Mike McCarthy being away from the sidelines isn't the biggest detriment. Would be maybe with other teams, might be a benefit perhaps in some cases. But yeah, the Saints are a weird team to go up against, because they're not particularly great at anything. The defense is good. The defense can stymie you a bit, but the offense is it's off the rails, right? We have to condition ourselves to now learn, this is not the Saints team we've been used to for so many years with Drew Brees and John Payton. There's not a lot to work with. What wide receiver do you trust? Mark Ingram's in, but then Taysom Hill's going to be scampering around. Forget about the tight ends. Like, what are we doing with the Saints? But they're just squirrely enough that if you're not on your game 100%, they can give you a tough time. Maybe that happens with Dallas.
Well, the other problem is that Dan Quinn's the head coach tonight, the temporary, and we know how many times Sean Payton kicked his rear when he was in Atlanta. So, listen, I'm not saying I expect Dallas to lose tonight, but when I see that line is 6.5, I would be surprised if Dallas wins by a field goal tonight.
That line, now that you mention that does make me a little nervous. Like, I feel the Cowboys are going to win. But that, and also remember, folks, like, weird stuff happens on Thursday. It's nothing we can really you can't really put your finger on to why, but you get strange outcomes, strange results. It's a short week, whatever, that can come out of it. And you mentioned Amari Cooper. Now, his questionability for this game was that
and the internet just went on the fritz with us on Andy again. So hopefully we'll recalibrate with Andy here in just a moment, because he literally just froze in the middle of what he said there. Then he came back and then he froze again. So Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll try to get Andy back up here on 97.3 ESPN, because it was all going so good there. We all thought it all worked out. And then all of a sudden, it it went down the tubes. So we'll try to get Andy on here. We'll try to get him on the phone line here, as we had a little technical problem here with his connection. As I think we got him back now. And that's interesting. All right, Andy, let's try this again. I lost you literally mid-sentence on Amari Cooper there.
I was making such a great point too.
I'm sure it was an amazing point, but no, we didn't hear it because technology hates it.
So. I don't know. The weather's fine where I am too, so I don't know what the heck.
It's good here. It's a beautiful day outside here in South Jersey. It's the warmest day we've had in 3 weeks.
It's here as well. It's been a very nice day. But okay, I'll get through my Amari Cooper point. My point is that if you're looking fantasy lineup wise, I'm not. If you have Amari Cooper, of course you're going to play Amari Cooper. But from what I've been hearing out of this was, okay, it was a cough, a constant cough, and they didn't want him hacking on everybody. And it wasn't, he's clear from COVID, but the lung capacity. So I just wonder, just me thinking here, like, is there a chance he could be short of breath, that a coughing fit could flare up? Like, I'm just thinking, if I'm playing, let's say, a DraftKings contest, do I maybe want to go with Michael Gallup a lot cheaper in my flex spot? That's for one contest what I'm personally going to do. I'm going to buy low on Michael Gallup, who we know can step up and produce if Cooper is limited in any sort of capacity. So I think it's a nice little side play, either if you don't have Cooper or if you want a cheap buy.
Yeah, the other thing is apparently Jerry Jones is joking before the game this earlier, about a half hour ago. There's reports that he's on Bourbon Street right now, joking that he's going to coach the team tonight.
Yes,
so
that'd be amazing.
Apparently, he asked Clarence Hill, who covers the Cowboys for basically ever, seems like. He asked him what the first play should be, and then he offered him a shot, and he said, "I have to work, Mr. Jones. You know, I'll see you later." So apparently, Jerry's in a great mood right now.
Jerry's rolling.
Yeah,
I hope he does. Well, that's great.
Hey, he's hanging out with Ric Flair right now, apparently. So
is he really?
Yeah, there's a picture of him and Flair together right now on Bourbon Street.
Get those two together. I got the picture for those watching online. Me and Ric Flair 2 years ago, right there at a Sport Card Expo I was hosting. I got him to do the 4 Horsemen sign with me.
Nice, very
pretty
nice.
Sweet.
I love that. I like that. All right, Andy, let's get to some more stuff here. Obviously, aside from tonight's game, before we go away from tonight's game, for the people out there who maybe have a quarterback on a bye week, or maybe you're somebody who you don't love maybe you have like Teddy Bridgewater or something. You know what I mean? Like, is Taysom Hill a viable option tonight, or are you saying, I'm not playing with that?
The thing is with Taysom Hill, I sort of feel like he's even a lesser reliable Cam Newton at this stage in his career. And we know how up and down Cam is, because Taysom Hill could run you in 2 touchdowns tonight. It easily could happen. He could also throw 2 interceptions. He's not a good passer of the football, Josh. He's not. That's why it perplexes me to no end why he still gets these ridiculous contracts as on the team. I don't understand it. Maybe we never will. but he's there. So we saw him last year in spot starts, get you 19, 20 fantasy points, and then totally bust out as well. Depends on your, I think it depends really on this. How do you feel the rest of your week is going to go with your fantasy team? Are you loaded in other places? Do you have a favorable matchup? Is it against the last place team in your fantasy league and you might be able to have a little risk reward? If so, then maybe you want to gamble. If you want to play it a bit safer, then I think you go the route of like Carson Wentz is still available in about 35, 40% of leagues. I like Tua this week against the Giants. He's only owned in about 36, 37% of ESPN fantasy leagues. So you're not going to get the fluctuation from a Tua or a Wentz, but I think the floor is much safer, much higher in the high teens that you can feel comfortable, especially how Tua's been rocking and rolling with Jalen Waddle. That's a great DFS stack, by the way. So it really depends. In a typical sense where you're not going to be loaded up, I would try to stay away from Taysom Hill. But if you're feeling froggy, man, rolling the dice, it'll probably make this Thursday game more interesting for you.
Andy McNamara joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter at AndyMC81. Sportsnet Fantasy Sports NFL Analyst joins us every Thursday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Andy, let's get to some specific other players here. I want to first ask you about what do you recommend people do with Antonio Brown? Let's say you're someone, an Antonio Brown owner. He was playing really good. Yeah. He was really great. And now all of a sudden he's going to be out another 3 games. Already missed a bunch of games. And we're a couple weeks away from playoffs for a lot of people right now. And I understand it's a week longer season, but are you telling people to hang on to Antonio Brown? Is people to cut bait? What are you doing here?
Well, the thing with Antonio Brown is, and really in any sort of situation where you're going to be without a guy for multiple weeks this late in the season, I tell people, look at your roster. Do you have an extra roster space? For Antonio Brown's case, I guess it would be if your league has the NA spot, right? Not all do. If you have the NA spot and you're not using it with anybody else, then put Antonio Brown in. Why cut him? But if it's going to be at the expense of another player that you feel you even might get some value out of, I would absolutely drop him. But if you have room on the bench or there's just another guy, like I had, for example, like a Deontay Harris. If I was in the situation, I'd probably keep Antonio Brown if I thought my team could go deep into the playoffs over a Deontay Harris type of situation. So it depends on the roster. Don't keep him at the sake of cutting somebody of some value.
Over in Arizona, there's 2 players everyone drafted highly. They would love to see back on the field, Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. The expectation is they will play. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't have that confirmed yet, but they are trending in the right direction, all the reports. So are you telling people who have Hopkins and Murray, just put them in the lineup and be safe? Or do you keep playing, wait until Sunday morning?
Well, I think for this case, because that game is an early game. So I think that's a good thing because then it forces you to not have to wait for that 4:25 if it was in Arizona. Like, oh, man, and now it's not going, and then you're really hosed. I'd say wait and keep track of the beat reporters. Keep track of the health reports. How's it trending? I would be, if you hear anything with like, oh, Kyler Murray's limited on that ankle, sort of the same words we were hearing before when he sat, I'd be very tentative. DeAndre Hopkins is in Julio Jones mode. If he suits up, he's going to play. However, we did see one time this year, I forget which week, where he went in for like 2 plays. Remember that, Josh? He went in for like 2 plays and then got yanked. So
and then AJ Green had a big game.
AJ Green, I still think Christian Kirk, regardless of situation, is an awesome WR3 or flex play this week. I love Christian Kirk in PPR every single week, no matter who's at quarterback or who else is in at wide receiver, and he's much more reliable than an AJ Green. So if it looks like they're going to go, play him and just, cross your fingers because the talent we know, if they go and get a full game, and you're going to feel pretty stupid if you have them on your bench.
2 more players to keep an eye on is our backyard right here on 97.3 ESPN. Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders. Now, Miles Sanders, full participant at practice, but you're keeping an eye on him because Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, DNPs. Apparently, Boston Scott's got a mysterious illness and nobody knows what it is. Could be a pink eye for all I know. And Jordan Howard, it's sounding more and more they're going to hold him out until after the bye week, honestly. It's a knee issue. So how do you treat Sanders in a backfield that literally is him and Kenny Gainwell at this point? And how do you treat Hurts, who he's limited? Hurts says he's playing, but it's a lower ankle injury, and you know that might limit his availability as a runner.
The good thing is they're playing the Jets. So even if he's limited, it's probably still okay.
They played the Giants last week. The defense held the Giants at 13 points, and they lost the game.
That drove me nuts. That was so disappointing. I had Jalen Hurts in my lineup. That sucked. This 2-game stretch was supposed to be 2 smash spots. Very disappointing. You're absolutely right in that Giants result. Now, the Jets, of course, are even worse than the Giants. So I still think it should be fine, but you're right. With a mobile quarterback, you get into those ankle issues. How does that look? Just like we talked about with Kyler Murray, right? So it's going to be something, again, to track. I feel that Jalen Hurts is going to be in a spot where the Jets are, especially with Zach Wilson, they're not scoring any points, right? So I still think you're going to be able to play him, especially with 4 teams on bye. You might not have a better option. But if we get Boston Scott and Jordan Howard out, and let's say for fun, the backfield is Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell. Well, Gainwell, for whatever reason, seems to be in the doghouse, right? So I think if you have a tweaked up ankle on Hurts and Sanders as the favorite guy coming back, that could be a real nice day, especially if you get up a couple scores early and just sort of ground and pound it out. Miles Sanders, track it, but Miles Sanders could be a really good play in a sneaky RB1 this week.
For those who don't know, the reason why Gainwell has been in the doghouse because he can't block very well. His blocking on third down has been his idea of blocking is throwing his body into somebody and hoping for the best.
He's trying, Josh.
He is trying, but he's not that good.
I know. And you know what? The talent is there. You're absolutely right. That's the thing, especially if you have a more slender frame quarterback like Jalen Hurts and who's mobile. You want to make sure he's not getting smoked. You want to make sure he's protected. Is that something Gainwell can learn and grow as an NFL? I hope so, because I love the talent. But you're right. That's the reason that you cannot even have him you certainly can't think of him as a total package 3-down back. And while you bring in Miles Sanders, and you can do that. So there is a big spot here for Sanders to produce. I don't know how many weeks it's going to be, but for this week with the Jets and those injuries, that's looking pretty good.
All right, we got a couple more minutes with you. I know you got a busy night tonight over on Sportsnet, so we'll get you out of here soon. I first want to ask you about the Steelers' offense. How do you feel about them right now? I know Claypool and Freiermuth are on track to play this week, but Ben, the arm isn't the same. The offensive line stinks. What do you do if you have Steelers players? What do you think of the Steelers' offense?
Deontay Johnson's your only guy right now, and Freiermuth. But like you said, you got to track that. I really like the connection that him and Roethlisberger have had, and the reason they have the connection is because he's running shorter routes, and he's an athletic guy, and he's moving the chains. Deontay Johnson has been a PPR dream. He's been a stud. That guy has been a week in, week out, mid to high teen fantasy point producer. Everybody else you can't trust, and it's not the wide receiver's fault. Like, did Chase Claypool just start to suck from last year, how dynamic he was? Absolutely not. His quarterback's arm is done. Glue factory time for Big Ben. I'll ride him there myself and take him to the horse farm to get him out taken care of. It's over. And it makes me so happy that it's almost over, Josh. But the offense means it's Johnson and it's Harris. And the thing is, Najee Harris's value has been dipping too, because everybody knows your quarterback can't throw the football. And the offensive line is, and people make the same comparison to the Browns, but the difference is the Browns' offensive line is first class, world class. The Steelers was a hodgepodge 4 or 5 new starters. So that's a big difference moving forward. I'm still playing Najee Harris, but that offense as a whole, Deontay Johnson, high RB2 for Harris, and then if healthy, Freiermuth, because the tight end position, as we know in fantasy, is so weak. You don't have too many choices anyway.
Speaking of tight end, Darren Waller looks like he's not going to play this week. Recommendation for Waller owners what to do with tight end.
You know what? The island of Foster Moreau is interesting. It's interesting. There's a red. See how many listeners get that one. The Foster Moreau connection. He did get a touchdown this year. There was a brief one with Derek Carr. It's a crapshoot, right? I don't love it. I don't particularly like it. That's why you hope a guy like Freiermuth is going to come in. Now you start getting real desperate because you just have to start looking. If you have Waller, it's not like you probably came up with another alternative. Is a Cole Kmet out there? He's questionable. He has that Q beside his name. If Kmet's playing, I dig him. He's been popping a bit, but again, that Bears offense isn't anything you can really count on. So I think you look at Kmet. Conklin, he's faded a bit. he was sort of, I won't say hot. I was going to say hot. He was lukewarm, tepid, around 10, 11 fantasy points. But for a waiver wire guy, that's fine, right? So you're looking at, my advice is look for the guys with the highest floors. Who's getting not the one or two targets and had a touchdown the last week? Who's getting 4 to 5 to 6 targets, catches a week? Maybe it's not for a lot of yards, but at least you know the volume's there. Maybe a Jared Cook. I don't like that either necessarily, but at least they're a part of the offense. Don't go like real deep diving or tight end committee type of stuff.
He's Andy McNamara. Follow him on Twitter at AndyMC81 for your NFL, fantasy, sports analysis, and more. And you guys, the folks covered over. It's Sunday morning. What time again?
Yes, sir. 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, the fantasy show. You can stream it live, sportsnet.ca, or on Twitter at AndyMC81. We put out the link there. Answer all your fantasy football start sits and all that good stuff.
Andy, we survived the technology issues.
Yes.
Have fun with your show today, and we'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, our conversation with Andy McNamara each week here is being brought to you by Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage, your best play to refinance today. Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage, proud sponsors of Thursday's Fantasy Football Talk with Sports. That's Andy McNamara right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right. You guys have any comments? Of course, you can chime in now, 609-403-0973. We're also live on YouTube at 973 ESPN, and you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. We'll wrap up with one more segment next.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football, with the Eagles in North Jersey against the Jets.
The Philadelphia Eagles have now beat the Jets 11 times and lost to them never.
Pre-game coverage begins this Sunday at noon. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 1. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Our everyday lives are being dominated by the global supply chain problem caused by the pandemic. Hi, Tom McAllister from McAllister the Service Company. Restarting and returning the global economy to its pre-pandemic levels is going to take time. After over 145 years in business, including 2 pandemics, we've developed long-lasting relationships with our distribution partners that value our business. These relationships pay off in times of need. We've been assured that although there may be some minor delays, we're all but guaranteed the availability of parts and equipment in the upcoming winter months and into the spring with minimal price increases. For award-winning quality and dependability, talk to the experts at McAllister, 609-927-4122 or at mcservice.com for all of your heating and air conditioning needs. McAllister cannot control the weather, but we can control your comfort.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, being brought to you by my friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Listen, the holidays are here, and maybe you need to take a break from all the shopping. Maybe you need to just get away. Or maybe you just want to have somewhere to go and watch the game after you're done shopping. Whatever is going on with you, you can get into all the football, basketball, UFC action, and more at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. The retail sportsbook features 5 betting windows, a large video wall, a sports ticker, 20 self-service betting kiosks, food and drinks, and more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet with FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Couple of things we want to get to before we get out of here on the show. Of course, you can join the conversation as always on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. DM the show. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. You can text in at 609-403-0973. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. A few things here. Number one, I don't know if anybody saw what's been going on with LeBron James. He's cleared COVID protocols now. And according to Dave McManaman, you've heard here on 97.3 ESPN multiple times, LeBron was tested 8 times since Saturday till now. He has come back negative on every test. And according to Dave McManaman's reporting, LeBron, according to reports, it looks like had a false positive in Sacramento. And he will be back on the court tomorrow versus the Clippers. And the reason I want to bring this up is we were having this conversation last basketball season and also in the bubble back in 2020. And we're still in the same situation we are now. Now, I'm not here to make a political or a socio position or anything like that. But the fact that the NBA has spent millions of dollars working with the science labs on the testing we had today. Remember, the NBA was part of the reason we had the rapid testing and the antigen testing and the PCR testing so readily available to the public, because they themselves spent millions of dollars into the research to make sure that it got made available for everyone, because they didn't want to take a test away from everyone else when they went into the bubble. Okay, organizations like the UFC and the NFL have done the same thing. They have given their own money to the labs and the medical profession and the scientists to make sure this testing is relevant. The reason why you are able to have a free test is in part because of what the NBA, the UFC, and the NFL has done. All right. The fact that we are now December 2021, we are now, 20 months into this COVID stuff, and we still have people at the highest level getting false positives. And LeBron, who is the biggest star in the NBA, I think most people would agree with that, whether you like LeBron or not. He's the biggest name. He's the biggest everything in the world right now in terms of popularity and polarizing figure in terms of sports. He had to take 8 tests from Saturday to today. That's more than one a day in order to clear the protocols. That tells me that the system still has a lot of flaws, a lot of irregularities, and if that can happen to a billionaire athlete in a league who has spent millions of their own money to make sure this testing is as readily available and as good as possible, if that guy, LeBron James, and the NBA are having trouble getting it right, what chance does anybody have? Again, this is not a political or social position. This is just me talking reality with you guys. The issue of the false positive has not gone away. So the next time you see a headline that somebody went into COVID protocols or someone tested positive, don't assume anything. Don't act like you know what's going on. Don't make presumptions with their vaccination status. Don't make presumptions with their personal life. Just stop. All right? There's so much here that we still don't know. And the fact that, like I said, the NBA spent millions of their own money on this antigen testing, this PCR, this rapid testing. You know, LeBron James, he's out there. He's supposed to be the most in shape, best conditioned, blah, blah, blah athlete in the world. He had a false positive. What hope do the rest of us have? What hope do the rest of us have if we go out and we get a test and we get a false positive? What happens to us? We don't have those resources that these guys do. In many ways, sports is a reflection of the real world. And what hope do we have of ever making anything better or getting out of the situation we're in if the NBA and LeBron James can't get it right? You know, like I said, it's one thing when Joel Embiid says, I was legitimately sick and I was down and out for a group of days, however many days he was actually sick. You know, the conjecture is it took him about 7 days to fully get over it. There's a huge difference between that and the person who tests positive has no symptoms at all. I'm not saying anything again positionally, but I'm just asking everybody the question. Are we really sure that we know what's going on here? That's all. And you can run with that as you will. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Cowboys versus Saints tonight. Listen, I told you guys earlier, I don't trust the Cowboys. I don't trust this game tonight. I'm fascinated by the game tonight. I'm intrigued by the game tonight. But I don't know if I can trust the Cowboys to win this game handily. Now, if you were to ask me what I do like for the game tonight, because I know a lot of you guys love to tune in to find out what my picks are. To me, there's 2 picks that make the most sense. Number 1, Taysom Hill to score a touchdown. He's plus 190. I just feel like Hill is going to score a running touchdown at some point. I don't know if the Saints can actually win the game or not, but I just feel like the Saints are going to have at least a couple good drives offensively, and Hill will get loose because he's faster and more athletic people give him credit for. So that's my number 1. My number 2 that I like in this game is I do like Dak Prescott to be able to go out there and at least get some passing yards, right? Right now, over on FanDuel Sportsbook, Dak Prescott, he's plus 148 for over 300. So, unless you're willing to just bunk down on that, I say you take Taysom Hill to score a touchdown at any time with Dak plus 250 passing yards at the parlay on FanDuel Sportsbook. That'll win you about $27 if you bet $10. So if you want to run that way, I think that's the way to go. To me, the bigger play tonight for fantasy is start Ezekiel Elliott. For as much as he has struggled, he is scoring over 10 fantasy points in all the last 10 games. In fact, Mike Clay, who will be on the show tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN, he's ESPN NFL Insider. He put this out earlier. When I saw this, I was surprised. Ezekiel Elliott has 10 straight games of 11 or more points, and he has scored 17 or more in 7 of those 10. In a world where there's not a lot of guarantees, it feels like Ezekiel Elliott being a fantasy football producer for you guys who are getting closer to your postseason, he's almost a sure thing. All right, so I definitely think that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Again, Cowboys, Saints tonight, right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8 o'clock tomorrow, as I mentioned, on 97.3 ESPN. We'll have Mike Clay from ESPN.com and ESPN Plus will join us coming up at 6:20 tomorrow night. Don't forget Mike Gill on the Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday, starting at 2 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. And then tomorrow night, Sixers at Hawks. Hawks are the best home team in the Eastern Conference. In the entire Eastern Conference, the best home team. They have 2 losses on the year. So, how do the Sixers handle that after an ugly game and a pretty lame loss to the Celtics last night? Find out tomorrow right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tom McGinnis on the call here on your home for Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers. 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, at Josh Hennig on Twitter. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow.